Hi everyone, it's Carson here with Remax, and today we're going to be talking about the April housing market update. But before we get started, a lot of you have been wondering how and where I get this information from. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how you can get this information firsthand for yourselves. So the first thing you want to do is go to rebgv.org, which is the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver. And when you get to that page, at the top here, you'll notice there's a tab called Market Watch. If you highlight Market Watch, you can click on Monthly Market Report. So once you get to this page, you'll notice there are two drop-down boxes that allow you to choose the corresponding month and the year for the stats you want to find. Note that for the year, it only goes back to 1999. Unfortunately, anything before that is not available. I'm sure the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver has it archived somewhere. It's just not available digitally. So for this month, we're going to be looking at April. So I'm just going to hit View Results. And I also have here the March stats just for comparison. But if you take a look here, you'll see that in April, for single detached homes, there were a total of 3,863 listings, with 388 homes that actually sold. So that's just over 10%. And the benchmark price was 1.462 million, with the average days on market to be 44. For townhouses, there were 1,481 listings with 218 sales. Benchmark price was 796,800, and the average days on the market was 32. For apartments, the active listings were 4,045 with 503 sales, and the benchmark price was 685,500, with the average days on the market to be 29. So what it's telling me here is the apartments seem to be more active than the single detached homes or even townhouses, and I guess the main point is back to affordability. A lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of young families, a lot of renters or tenants, they still need a place to live, they still need a place to stay, and so there still has been activity, just not as much as before. So let's just take a comparison to March. So if we look here in March, you'll see that in March, let's take a look here. In March, there were 4,031 listings with 852 sales, and for townhouses there was 1,494 listings with 493 sales, and for apartments there were 4,081 listings with 1,179 sales. So there's a huge difference in the amount of sales for March compared to April, and I suspect that had to do with the beginning of March, when there was a huge amount of activity before the whole COVID-19 state of emergency started becoming a big issue in BC. There was a lot of activity picking up, and so we know that this state of emergency has definitely affected buyers and sellers, and I'd say it probably has a bigger effect on sellers than it has buyers. I mean, both, in my opinion, both parties have been affected, but I feel like for sellers there has been a big effect for them because of the fact that they don't want strangers or people they don't know to come into their house who could have, be asymptomatic and not have any symptoms of the COVID-19 and spread the virus to them. And likewise for buyers too, a lot of buyers I have been working with have been very hesitant to go to open houses because they don't want to be in a crowded space or crowded area. And of course, back towards the end of March, the Real Estate Board has strongly recommended real estate agents to not do open houses and just book them by appointment only and to practice social distancing. So a lot of agents have stopped doing open houses, and in fact a lot of them have been turning to new methods and technologies to help buyers and sellers find a way to overcome this pandemic. So let's go back down to the total number of sales. So you'll notice that in terms of April 2020, there were a total of 1,109 sales. Compared to the previous April, there were 1,829 sales. So if you were to take a look, April 2020 versus 2019, that means the sales were down approximately 40%. So you'll notice here it also says that While Metro Vancouver home sale and listing activity remains limited because of the COVID-19, realtors across the region are fast adopting new tools and practices to help advise and serve their clients in a responsible way. So some of the ways that I've seen other of my colleagues practice this and adopting new tools is by, number one, doing virtual open houses. You'll notice a lot of them are using video and their social media platform as a medium to do open houses and show to prospective buyers what their home, the home they have for sale, looks like. Other ways is by using 360 virtual tour. There are tools out there that can allow buyers to see the home from the comfort of their own home. Obviously, it's never the exact same as you physically seeing it in person, but in my opinion, a lot of these 360 virtual tours work very, very well. They're very clear, they're very precise, and it's almost as if you're in the home yourself. So that helps filter a lot of buyers who may just want to be curious to see what the inside of the home looks like, but may not actually be serious about wanting to make an offer. A lot of agents I have found also require a health questionnaire to be completed and signed by the buyer's agent as well as the buyers as well, to say that they don't have any symptoms or they haven't traveled in the last 14 days. As well, some agents also require masks and gloves to be worn. I've noticed a lot of sellers agents don't even go into the home. If the home is vacant, they will either leave a locked box with the key for the buyer's agent to open up and bring their clients to go see, or the seller's agent may just open the door and just stand outside and wait for the buyer and the buyer's agent to tour the home inside. So let's go down to the sales to active ratios. So sales to active ratio basically means for the number of homes that were actually for sale, how many of those homes actually got sold. So for example, if 100 homes were listed for sale and 10 of those homes actually sold, then that means the sales to active ratio would be 10%. So if you take a look here, for single detached homes, the sales to active ratio was 10%. For townhomes, it was 14.7, and for condominiums, it was 12.4. So the average of the three would be 11.8%. And we know that when the sales to active ratio dips below roughly 12%, then that usually puts downward pressure on prices. Whereas when it hits somewhere in the 20% mark, then we know that it will put upwards pressure on the prices. So if you take a look here, actually it does say that generally analysts say downward pressure on home prices occur when the ratio dips below 12% for a sustained period, and often prices experience upward pressure when it surpasses 20% over several months. So the last thing to note here is the MLS home price index for Metro Vancouver is currently 1,036,000, and the price actually has gone up over April of 2019. So if you compare 2019 versus now, it's actually gone up 2.5%. If you compare it to last month, it's only gone up 0.2%. So the price has remained relatively flat. You'll notice that it says here home prices have held relatively steady in our region. And if you take a look, sales of detached homes in April reached 388, which is a 33.8% decrease from sales in April of 2019. And also for detached, benchmark price for detached properties 1.462 million, and that's a 2.3% increase from the previous year. And sales for apartments reached 503 in April, which is a 43.2% decrease compared to 885 in the previous April of 2019. And the benchmark price in the apartment property is 685,000, and that's a 2.7% increase from April 2019 and a 0.2% decrease compared to March. And finally, for attached homes, which represents the townhouses, the sales in April of 2020 totaled to 218, which is a 39.1% decrease compared to 385 sales in April of 2019, and the benchmark price of the attached homes is 796,800, which represents a 2.8% increase from April 2019 and a 0.6% increase from March 2020. So there is a PDF that you can also download as well to get more in-depth statistics about the actual sub areas and the actual property type, if you're curious to know. And just going back, I just wanted to take a look at the sales active ratio for the previous month for comparison's sake. So you'll notice here that in March, single detached homes were 21.1%, which means this was a seller's market, because that would potentially put upwards pressure on the price. And same for townhomes and same for condominiums, whereas in April you'll see that it's a totally different market. So a lot of people have been wondering about price and where things will go. I honestly don't have an answer. I can only speculate, but if I were to take a guess, I would probably say that it would probably take us at the very least, possibly 6 to 9 months or longer before the economy will recover or start to recover, before the buyer and seller activity to recover. And the other thing I think that has hampered the sales to active ratio has to do with the fact that a lot of sellers have decided to take their home off the market. So from what I can tell, a lot of homeowners are not in a big rush or have a big need to sell, and so they have decided to take their home off the market and wait until this whole state of emergency, this whole COVID-19 pandemic has either come to an end, or when it gets I guess safer to do so, that's when they'll put their home on the market. And it really comes down to pricing. From my perspective, it's come down to pricing. If the price makes sense, then a lot of the homeowners are willing to put their home on the market. If the price doesn't make sense for them, then they'd rather wait. And it seems it has to also do with whether or not homeowners have that need to sell in terms of their financial situation. So some homeowners who may experience unemployment or shortage of work, or their hours have been reduced, if they're still able to sustain themselves financially for this duration, either because they get support from CRB, they have some savings, or they get EI, or they collect EI, that sort of thing, then likely they would rather hold out and wait until this whole pandemic is over than forced to sell at a price that they feel is unfavorable to them. And you'll notice that there are some buyers who are, I guess their expectation is, because they're still willing to make a purchase during this whole COVID-19 pandemic, they're hoping that they can get a very good deal with purchasing a property. And sometimes that could be the case, because there are some sellers who have an urgent need to sell, and they need to sell quickly, and maybe they've purchased another home, maybe they're going through a divorce, or maybe there's some other reason that has strongly motivated their reasoning for selling. So for those people, yes, they might be willing to relent with a bit of discount on their pricing, but I find that in general, most homeowners who are not in a financial crunch to sell, they're usually pretty firm on their price, and their mindset is still with approximately the same as before the whole COVID-19. And that's a general pattern that I notice is most buyers and sellers are lagging behind in terms of where the market actually is. So it takes them usually between 6 to 12 months before they actually adjust to the current market conditions. But by that time, market conditions have adjusted again. So usually there's sort of a 6 to 12 months lag behind where their thinking is in terms of where the market is actually at. And before I forget, for those of you who are interested in the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board statistics, you can go to Fraser Valley Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver. So here you can click on the corresponding year and the month. So here you'll get a statistics report on the corresponding month with all the stats for the Fraser Valley as well. So that's it for the April housing market. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys liked the video, please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them